when it comes to sisterly love, how far is too far? In Long Lost, that's basically the thesis statement of the whole book. Let's talk about it. Roll the intro. Hello friends, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Elise, and this is my mystical, spooky bookshelf. And today, as I said in my small intro, I'm going to be talking about Long Lost by Jacqueline West. And let me just say, I'm really happy that I found this because it was $8 at McKay's, and I had listened to it on Libby. It is, I think it's available right now. I don't think there was a wait list for it, but it's really good. And I was really sad that I didn't actually own it, because definitely one of the best books that I have read or listened to in a very long time. And it's really good for a middle grade too, which is really exciting, because sometimes I feel like middle grades can be hit or miss, but this one, it's a big hit. And as I said in my intro, it's kind of going like, how far would you go for your sibling? In this case, it's sisters. It's sort of like, if I had to compare it to a Disney movie, I would say it reminds me of Frozen because of that sisterly bond between Fiona and Arden. But it's more like if Elsa and Anna didn't, I guess they kind of don't really like each other in the beginning. At least they don't act like they do. It's sort of like, because Fiona and Arden have a very interesting relationship dynamic in the beginning, and Arden is 2 years older than Fiona. So Fiona is the younger sister, and she is 11, and Arden is her older sister, who is 13. And it's basically about Fiona's tale of woe, because my gosh, I got like a frog in my throat. Because she is sort of being whipped around. Excuse me, if I keep this up, I'm gonna have to stop and take a drink of water. But so Fiona is basically being whipped around by her sister, because her sister is an ice skater and she is looking to go full-time, like a pro. I think she's looking to go to the Olympics. I think that's her goal, supposedly. It's kind of revealed later that Arden doesn't really want to ice skate that much, but we don't get that until towards the end. But the whole story basically is Fiona's family moving to be closer to where Arden ice skates. And Fiona feels like sort of the lost sister in this relationship. She feels like her parents care more about Arden than they do about her, which is obviously not true, but when it comes to an 11-year-old, I think everything is a big deal to an 11-year-old girl. I was there once. I understand what it's like. And she just feels like the pesky sister who was forgotten. And it feels like Arden kind of has this superiority complex in the beginning a little bit. I didn't like Arden very much until like towards the end, because she's really kind of snotty. Like, I understand she's 13 and you're going through a lot of hormonal changes as a girl, and I don't think Arden has hit that point probably, but I mean, it depends. It's all different for everybody, but I'm pretty sure Arden probably had like a higher fluctuation of hormones at 13 than Fiona does at 11. So I can understand why she's why she comes off as snotty, because I just feel like that's how most 13-year-old girls are, is they're not meaning to be snotty, but there's just so much going on in their life that they don't know how to process their emotions yet. Man, I'm sorry if I sound bad. I kind of have a cold a little bit. So if I sound like nasally or something, I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah, so they moved to this place called Lost Lake, and it's this really beautiful town. It's super old, and there's lots of history. And the cool thing that I like about Fiona is she is an explorer of sorts. She's very curious. She kind of reminds me of Ariel in that respect, because she just wants to explore everything, and she wants to see how far she can go and what knowledge can she obtain about something that she doesn't know anything about. And it's very cool too, because she says as one of her character traits, she wants to be an archaeologist when she grows up, and I hardly ever see anything in media like this, especially for a girl. I hardly see anyone mention archaeology or anything like that. So it's really cool to read about. And Fiona is very smart, and she loves to read. That's also another thing that I related about her, because I like to read as well. And obviously, because I have this YouTube channel. And it just is really cool, and I'm gonna have to read the physical copy, because the one thing that I love about this book is that it is a story within a story. And what I mean by that is, since I have the physical copy here, there is you can tell when there's a story within a story, because in the audiobook it was kind of hard for me to tell when Fiona was reading reading the story within the story, because the story that's within this book is actually, it's called Long Lost. It's about two sisters who, one of them goes missing, and the other one, the younger sister, is left with like this guilt that she couldn't save her older sister. So it's interesting when we see how the story progresses, because it actually shows you this is what Fiona is reading in real time during the storyline of Long Lost. So she goes to the library and she finds this mystical book, and she notices it's called Long Lost, and I'm pretty sure it's the book that's pictured on this cover. So I would assume this is Fiona. And it's just this really interesting story about these sisters. They are very close, and they are like best friends, it seems, until one day they get into a fight, and then one of them goes missing. And it's a very sad story, because it's actually about two real sisters. This story has a lot of folklore in it, which I think is super interesting, and it's something that I had never seen before, and I wrote down some notes about it, because it's really about this Long Lost, about the town Lost Lake, is really about the folklore of the town and how the story of these two sisters has shaped the entire town. And that's what I think is most interesting. It's basically, it leans on the lesson of how stories shape our lives. And this story of these two sisters, Evelyn and Margaret, and in the Long Lost book, they're called Pearl and Hazel. It's really showcasing how this story has affected the town over the years, because it's kind of really deeply rooted in the town's history, and it's something that nobody ever really talks about, but it's something that actually happened. Evelyn really did go missing, Evelyn really did die, and it's like the town is almost trying to hide it, or hide the fact that something like that tragic could happen. But it's really cool. I really enjoyed the magical books. And I can hear the lawn company right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I might pause for a minute. But I might not. Okay, anyway. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought hearing this stupid lawn company. But I liked the town setting the most in this story because there's so much rich history with it, because it is such an old town and all of the names and the streets have like a certain meaning in the book. And the library is like the most prominent setting in the story because that was Evelyn and Margaret's house, and Margaret actually donated the house and gave it to the town so that it can be a library for everyone to enjoy for the rest of time. And it's just really cool how so much history is in this town. I'm trying to read my notes. Sometimes I can't read my own handwriting. Does that happen to you guys? I feel like I write down stuff and I'm like, I don't know what that says. I don't remember what I was trying to say. Oh, I know. It's basically this story of Evelyn and Pearl, or of Evelyn and Margaret, or Hazel and Pearl, has basically withstood the sands of time. It is basically embedded in this history of Lost Lake. And there was a lot of good character growth throughout the story too, because while Arden is in the wrong, I also think Fiona is in the wrong because she's not as understanding as she should be. But like I said, they're so young. It's hard for them to be mature and understanding because everything is such a big deal to teenagers and preteens. And Fiona's life really does get turned upside down, and it's kind of not fair because she doesn't get to hang out with her friends for their birthday party when Arden has this ice skating thing that their parents forgot about, and then Fiona kind of just gets pushed under the rug in that scene. And that makes me feel for Fiona because I would be upset too if my sister or brother, in this case, if we were closer in age, if he had something going on and my parents forgot about it and just said, oh, you can't do that thing you had planned for weeks. Because realistically in the story, Fiona had planned this birthday party for like months in advance, and the fact that they couldn't even make it work for Fiona is really kind of frustrating. It makes me question like the adults in the story more than anything, because it's like if your daughter has something planned this far in advance and you didn't even know about your other daughter's ice skating commitments, that's like a failure as a parent to me. It's just a really poor lack of planning on the parents' part, and I really think there could have been a compromise that could have happened. But I mean, in terms of the story, I guess it's just a literary device to show that Fiona is being treated unfairly. And I think it's kind of a ploy to get the reader to feel more sympathetic towards Fiona, which is understandable. I totally feel sympathetic towards her. And this is kind of told in the point of view of Fiona more, so we don't really get to see Arden's side of it, so that's kind of another side of the coin. Like, if this was told in the perspective of Arden, maybe I would have felt more sympathetic towards her, but as it happens, I don't feel that sympathetic towards Arden. I kind of think she's a spoiled brat. But she does get better as time goes on, and she realizes that she loves her sister. Obviously, she always loved her sister, but things kind of get lost in translation between them a lot. And I think that has to do with the fact that they both have different hobbies, they don't really understand each other very well, and they are close, but they're not as close as sisters could be. But towards the end, it seems like they are really close. And I think another thing that affects Fiona and Arden's relationship is the very core memory that Fiona has in the very beginning. It's like she feels like Arden lets her... Arden almost lets her drown, I guess. And it's kind of scary how that happened. Especially listening to it. It was very interesting. But she was so young. Arden was like 6 and Fiona was 4. So I don't think she really truly meant to let her drown. But she wasn't like paying attention. And I don't even know why her parents would let Arden watch Fiona since they were so young. But that's like another core thing between them, is they don't really understand each other from the beginning. And it's just really interesting to see their relationship get better as time goes on. And the ending was really good. I think this is one of the best endings ever because it goes back to that core memory. Fiona gets trapped somewhere and she is almost drowning, and this time Arden comes to save her. And it's all because of this long lost story of Evelyn and Margaret is coming to fruition, because the story is kind of playing itself out as Fiona's reading it. And I think it's supposed to parallel Fiona and Arden's relationship as well. There's a lot of different like embedded relationships in this book, because you have the dynamic of Pearl and Hazel, who are Evelyn and Margaret, and then their dynamic ties in with Fiona and Arden's dynamic. Because in the original story of Hazel and Pearl, Hazel kind of goes off on her own, and Pearl also goes off on her own after they have a fight, and she learns that Hazel drowned, and and Pearl feels bad because she felt like she could have stopped her sister, but she was so clouded with anger, and that it kind of clouds her judgment. So it's kind of like the story of your sister dies and you carry that guilt with you for so long, and that guilt is really embedded in the town, and nobody in the town talks about it. They all say that Hazel just went missing. They don't acknowledge the fact that it was someone who actually passed away. And so I think the story ends up playing out because Hazel's spirit is not at rest. And in the end, when Fiona is rescued by Arden, the apparitions of Hazel and Pearl come to life, and Pearl ends up saving Hazel in that sense when she couldn't do it like a long time ago. And that ends up putting Hazel's spirit at rest so that they can both pass on together. Because that's really the underlying theme of the story, is that there's so much rich history in this town that these sisters are embedded in the town, and it's kind of like they're in purgatory. And it's just really interesting. It was a very good ending. I loved it. I really did. It was the ending that I had anticipated. I had hoped that Arden and Fiona's relationship would get better, and I had no idea that it would go this deep. And that's really what it is about, is going the distance for the person you love. In this case, going the distance for your sibling. Oh my gosh, this cold. It's crazy. I'm so sorry. It's really about going the distance for your sibling and like showing them, I care about you, I love you, I want you to feel seen. And that's really what Arden learns in the end, is she learns that Fiona never felt seen. And she's trying to make compromises with Fiona at the end after she saves her from drowning, after she gets trapped in this silo, which I thought was so weird. But it was really good. This book is like magical realism almost, so there's a lot of elements that seem outlandish, but it works within the context of the story. And this was my first book that I read by Jacqueline West. And she's a really good writer. I really like her a lot. I will definitely check out some of her other books. Because I noticed there's another series that's called The Collectors, which I also think sounds interesting. So that might be my next series that I read, because it looks like it says it's a series. But this was a 5-star read, and it's really perfect for the spooky time of year because it takes place in the fall, near the end of autumn, and the vibes in this book are perfect. The audiobook was immaculate. I can't wait to actually read it because I think I would get more enjoyment out of it actually reading it, and I might even try and read it while I'm listening to it because I've never tried that before and I want to give that a go. But yeah, I totally recommend this if you like sisterhood, magical realism, if you enjoy town history and storytelling aspects. This book is perfect for you. But thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing, and thank you for the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, friends!